Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Dr. Jeff Musgrave, proudly serving in the older adult division of the Institute of Clinical Excellence. So what we're going to be talking about today is how elderspeak ruins your outcomes. How elderspeak ruins your outcomes. Before we get into that, if you are looking to up your geriatrics game, we've got lots of options for you. We've got more than 40 live courses on the docket. The next one coming up is going to be March 3rd and 4th. You can catch myself and Julie Brower on the road, Onward Milwaukee. We're super pumped to be there. Great spot. If you're free, you're in the area, come join us. We're going to have a blast. If you're looking to catch us online, our current cohort of Essential Foundations is about to finish up. Next cohort is going to be March 1st. If you want to catch Advanced Concepts, you've already had Essential Foundations. The next cohort is going to be in May. So Advanced Concepts isn't offered quite as often. So if you're looking to get that next step in, go ahead and get that seat while you can get one. It's not uncommon for those courses to sell out. So get your seat while you can. All right, team, let's get into this. So excited to share this with you. We all have blind spots in our care, okay? And this is one we see pretty commonly in the care for older adults. And this term was actually, unfortunately, driven out of interactions from healthcare providers to older adults. So things we're going to be covering. First, we need to talk about what is elderspeak. We need to define it, know what that is. Then we're going to cover how it will ruin your outcomes. Okay. And then the last thing is how we fix it. What do we do about it? Okay. So we're going to define it, talk about how it ruins outcomes, and then strategies to fix it. So you can have the best outcomes possible for your older adults, okay? So elderspeak, classically defined as an inappropriate, simplified speech that sounds like baby talk. So things that you would say to maybe a 5 or 6-year-old child, but using that same type of language, same type of tone with an older adult. So when you first hear that, you're like, well, I don't do that. Surely no one does that. But we hear this all the time. If you're in a facility working around a lot of other people, you're going to hear this very commonly. I know for myself, growing up in a rural area, I think it's even more common than in larger urban areas. So this topic really hits home for me. So different types of elderspeak that we can hear that we want to be aware of, okay? Slowed speech, talking slower than normal, louder than normal, or in very simple terms that you would not use with one of your peers. Now, I'm not saying physical therapy peers. We're not talking about scientific language, provider to provider, but one of your peers that maybe doesn't have the same scientific background, okay? Overly nurturing tones like sweetie, dear, or saying things like, oh, that's so cute. Look at your outfit. Those things come across as so demeaning. Now, these don't come from a bad place. These are often at the root of why we want to serve older adults, because we want to be nurturing. We want to be caring. We want to lift them up or be super positive to be helpful. But this, team, is not the way to do it. Other things that we often hear are the sing-songy type language, where it's almost like the same type of language if you have a pet at home, like a cat or dog, where it's like, who's a good boy? Okay, we don't change our tone. Our patients are not our pets. They are not subservient to us living in our home. Once again, it doesn't come from a bad place, but these are earmarks of superiority to our older adults, that we're elevating ourselves, and we're making some assumptions here that are very destructive to building therapeutic alliance. We really need to watch out for. Other things, using collective pronoun substitution. I know, sounds like a lot, right? I had to practice that, okay, to spit that out. But the reality is, instead of saying, are you ready to exercise today? We ready to get after it? Saying something like, are we ready to exercise today? And you hear how my tone kind of goes up? And I use this we term, knowing good and well, I'm not going to be doing any of the work. I'm not part of the we. Okay, this is one that I still struggle with, using we instead of you. You are the one that's going to exercise. I'm going to guide you through it. Okay, so we need to be careful with those collective pronouns. Okay. So those are the main categories of elder speak. So now we need to talk about, what do we do about it? Okay, maybe you're like me and one of those hits home for you. So some things to know about why this is so important. First of all, if we're trying to build therapeutic alliance with an older adult, this puts up a huge wall between ourselves and our patients. What we're trying to do when we meet an older adult or any patient is we're trying to build a bridge. We're trying to have open communication between you and I, that just this free flowing information. Okay. And we need to keep in mind, specifically for older adults, they're sharing sensitive information with us. If they really tell us the truth about the falls, their fears, their concerns about things like, maybe I can't live in my home anymore, or I'm struggling with activities of daily living, that if my kids find out, they're going to try to kick me out of my home and put me in an assisted living facility. They're going to cut me off from the life that I'm living and loving right now. Okay, so just know that they're in a more vulnerable position than someone who's independent, and these type of things are not being questioned. Just because they're older, people are going to be questioning their cognition, their safety. And when they start sharing the sensitive information, they need to know that they can really trust us. And elder speak puts up a huge wall that sometimes we can't get that free flowing information back and forth. Most of us treating older adults know that older adults underreport their falls. And I could almost guarantee you, if we could dig into that research and find out why, the elder speak and not having good communication and good trust with us as providers is one of those reasons they don't report those things. They don't trust us. And using elder speak puts up that wall and will not allow that communication to happen. Okay. So inability to build trust, that's huge. We've got to build trust as quickly and as deeply as possible to get this vital information so we can get our clients on the right track. The second thing, this assumes cognitive superiority. We're rolling in, we've had no interactions, when we start talking super loud, super slow, and I've done this, team. I've made these mistakes. This is why I'm passionate about it. I've had patients, I walk in with my big, loud, booming voice, and they're like, I'm old, I'm not deaf. Okay, I've been there. Don't assume anything. Speak to them like you would your peers. And if you pick up on something, adjust then. It will do no harm to repeat your intro a little louder if they ask you to. It will do a great deal of harm if you do come in, talk slow, talk to them like a child, use this sing-songy, sugary, sweet tones that they're not here for. They know that's a put on. They know that you're not being your authentic self. And you better believe on the other side of those interactions, they're not going to be their authentic self either. We're not going to get the info we need. So make no assumptions. When we speak to older adults like that, when they're trying to seek medical care, they're in this vulnerable position. We're just assuming cognitive superiority. It cuts us off from authentic communication. Thirdly, elder speak has been studied. The reality, what we know here is if we talk to older adults in this way, we increase their dependence. We give poorer outcomes because they've lost self-esteem. If we talk to them like they're inferior, they're going to start to feel inferior at some point. If someone tells you you're an idiot every day, even if you don't believe that, if you hear it enough, it's going to start to impact your psyche. It's going to impact how you feel, what you do, how you speak, how you think about yourself. This is no different than basically calling your patient, hey, I'm smarter than you. You can't do what you used to do anymore. And that's not our role. That's not what we're trying to do. I'm not saying anyone is trying to do this, team. But when we speak to our older adults like this, that can happen. So that's how it will ruin your outcomes. Let's talk about how we fix it. So number one, if you've been to any of the MMOA courses, we love to say this all the time. And this is crucial for treating any older adult. It is assessments over assumptions. We make no assumptions with our interactions, but we do make assessments. We assess and find out how we need to speak to them. Don't assume anything with those communications. Speak to them just like you would anyone else. If they need something louder, slower, you're acutely paying attention in these interactions. You will pick up on that. And most of our older adults, they're not scared to tell you, "Hey, buddy, speak it up. I need it up a notch or two on the volume. I can't hear a darn thing you're saying." They're going to tell you. It's going to be clear. But let's speak to them just like we would our peers first, and let's find that out from our interactions. The second thing we could do, so knowing that's important, the second thing that we really need to do is we have got to know that from the research, if you have done this with a patient and you have got really good rapport, something that will break you of this habit is to ask them. Just ask someone that you know you have used elderspeak with, how does that make you feel? When I come in super cheerful, when I'm extra loud, I talk extra slow with you to see if you can understand what I'm saying. How does that make you feel? I tell you what, team, you gotta put your big boy, your big girl pants on for that one. That'll be a tough conversation, but I can guarantee you that that patient will respect you more for trying to grow and learn. And that interaction will help break you of this habit. Knowing how that makes someone feel, having that genuine interaction with them can help you break this habit, can be really powerful. And thirdly, maybe you're not quite ready for that step, or you don't have someone you trust to have that interaction with. Just put yourself in their shoes. Try to figure out, if you were them, you were in their position, you're feeling very vulnerable. You have someone come in talking super loud, super slow, knowing that you're cognitively intact. You've got kids older than them. You've run maybe a multi-million-dollar company for decades, and they're talking to you like a 5-year-old. Yuck. That would just feel awful. Just taking just a little bit of time to reflect and think about how that can make our patients feel can really help solve that issue. So just know, not trying to put salt in any wounds here, but we all have blind spots. This has been a blind spot for me in the past. So if you recognize that you have any of these habits, I want to really encourage you, try to break that habit. Work on these steps to make yourself better. It will help your communication. And if we can't get that information on the front end that we need to help someone to find out what's really going on and build that trust very quickly, we're going to have super poor outcomes with our older adults. It's the first stop in these interactions is building that therapeutic alliance. Reducing your elderspeak can take care of that. So work on those steps, have some reflections. Team, I would love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts on this, if you have any strategies that have been helpful, hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear what your experience has been on using elderspeak, stopping elderspeak. I love it. Have a wonderful Wednesday. We will catch you soon.